Thank you for joining us this morning's Wheel and Anchor webinar, Island Hopping in Greece. This is a program that we were meant to go on in June of this year of 2021, but for obvious reasons, all of our trips for at least the first half of this year have been postponed, but we hope to be traveling again soon. For the benefit of our members who've not traveled with us before, let me just give you a couple of quick comments about what Wheel and Anchor is. If you haven't joined us before, we are all about travelers who are like-minded. We have the same sort of aspirations and the same way that we like to look at things and learn, and we have a great time when we travel together. And that's what Wheel and Anchor is all about, is bringing people who are really passionate about a special kind of travel together. And in the course of doing that, we become well-traveled and well-connected. And I know I say this every week, but it's so important to me that we are looking at travel not just from the perspective of checking off our bucket list, which we all do at some level, but that we are actually learning something. We're getting something out of the experience. We're appreciating other cultures and traditions and so on, and meeting a lot of great people, getting connected to great people overseas and friends from back home. That's what our mission is at Wheel and Anchor. Our team this morning, I'm Gordon, the founder of Wheel and Anchor, and I'm joined in the background by Paula and Joel, my wonderful compatriots who've been standing by my side as we've gone through this pandemic for the past year and since the beginning. And our special guest this morning, Giannis, joining us all the way from Crete in Greece. Thank you for joining us.
You're very welcome. Thank you for
sharing a few anecdotes about the challenges that Greece has had, much like in Canada, much like most places in the world. And so we appreciate you taking the time out on this happy Easter, so Greek Orthodox Easter today. So I appreciate you taking your whole. It's Greek Orthodox Easter, right? I've got that correct.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's
okay.
Right. Yeah.
Good. I didn't want to make it.
The Easter.
Fantastic. So thank you for joining us, and once again giving us some insight into what we can see on this trip. Our plan today is to take you, our curious travelers who are interested in the Greek islands, on a little tour. I will be your guide together with Giannis, who is our local partner over in Greece, and will be taking us on this wonderful trip as we go through the Greek islands in the spring of next year, and specifically at the end of May. We are going to visit this wonderful country. I visited Greece a number of times. This trip is really focused on the Greek archipelago, which, as you know, as we all know, has a huge number of islands, 6,000 of them. And of course, there's only a couple hundred of those that are actually inhabited. But the raison d'etre, if you will, for this tour was that a lot of tours around Greece, you go on these cruise ships, and they stop at Mykonos, and they stop at Santorini, and they stop at these places, and they stop in for one day, and you get off the boat with hordes of people, and you try and run around and see things, and you got to get back on the boat because it's setting sail again at 4 o'clock. And when we were looking at this, I spoke to a number of our members, and I said, I think it's worth it to go a little bit beyond the port and the harbor that you see. And so we are taking time to explore a few of these islands, a couple of them like Crete, which is obviously the largest one by far, but also Santorini, which is very well known, but then Naxos, which is not so well known. So we're going to get a smattering of well-known places, and we're going to take the time by spending a few days in each to get to know them a little bit better than if you were to just jump around on a cruise. So looking at the itinerary, we of course are going to fly into Athens, the capital city, and we're going to hop right away on an island hopper flight down to Chania, which is, if I'm not mistaken, the second largest city in Crete. Is that right?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And so from there, we're going to spend a few days. This is where Giannis is based. And so he's going to be talking with us, I'm passionate about Chania and the western part of Crete. We're going to go overland to Heraklion. And then the next few days, we'll be traveling by ferry up to Santorini, and then Naxos, and then by ferry back to Athens, where we'll have a final night before we continue on our journey. So it'll give us a good overview of the Cyclades, which are this segment of the islands in Greece. So let's talk about it a little bit day by day, and I'm going to rely on Yanis, who is the real expert. As I say, I've been to a few of these places before, but Yanis is really going to take us on the tour and tell us what we expect, what we can expect to see along the way. Our first day, of course, we're going to be arriving in Athens. Hopefully, Air Canada will keep its direct service from Toronto into Athens. Of course, all of that remains to be seen as we see how flight schedules emerge. But either way, there are lots of other connections to get to Athens. And from there, as I say, we'll be connecting directly over to an island hopper flight and making our way to Chania. And we get into Chania, and I mean, one of the first things we see, I guess, is this Venetian harbor for which you are, the town is so famous. But give us the overview about Chania, Western Crete. What's it like?
Chania, and basically Crete, as the largest island of Greece, is a place with a huge history. So what is the most important and exciting about Crete is that you can see the signs of a lot of different cultures and civilizations in their cities, and the city of Chania is one of them. So what you can see, the Venetian harbor and the old town around is a very unique example of a place that a lot of different people used to live, a lot of different people occupied, but after 5,000 years, it's what people love to, it's where people love to walk around, admire the old buildings, see this beautiful architecture all around, and learn the history literally behind every rock and under every corner. So it's very, very interesting to walk into these paths as our ancestors did and learn so many things. Chania is, according to a lot of people, the most beautiful city of Crete. And yeah, we are very happy to welcome you here and share all this huge history and beauty.
Yeah, we are absolutely looking forward to it. So we'll obviously get an orientation of the city itself, and we've got lots of time built in on this to, as you say, wander the streets, and that's the best way sometimes to see a place like Chania.
And it's important to do that it's important to do that with a local.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you see a lot of different aspects of things that you wouldn't see yourself.
For sure, and Chania has, as you say, these really old districts. And what particular part of it do you think that visitors find most interesting or most unique that you perhaps won't find in other, Cretan towns? Or
to be honest, I believe that two things are very special in Crete. The one is definitely the people and the culture, the hospitality generally. And the second is the simplicity. I mean, in other cities like New York, like London, you see these huge, magnificent buildings. You see these miracles of construction. But here in Chania, you see the simple things. How people used to build these beautiful buildings 100 or 500 years ago, and admire this simplicity, but very well combined with beauty. That's what I think.
sure. But you mentioned people, and I think this is an important point, because it's visiting these places is more about just looking at old buildings. But we're actually you've organized for us to take a visit at a local family where we'll get to sort of try out the food and even cook the food ourselves. Yeah. And I'm curious, because people ask me all the time, well, what do you expect? I mean, we know Greek food at home from the Greek restaurants, but what's a particularly local food that we might try while we're with this family?
You will find a difference here in Crete, tasting the food in Greece generally, because it's all about the ingredients. To be honest, it's where the ingredients are coming from, right? So maybe the tomato that grows here in Crete tastes a lot different than a tomato grows in another place, right? So I believe that's why this place is so famous for our gastronomy. So you can expect delicious tastes. You can expect simple recipes, but a wonderful result, very tasty and very mouth-watering experience. So yeah, it will be one of the most surprising things that you will experience in Greece.
For sure, so we'll spend the day exploring the city, and as you say, getting a sense of what the local food is all about. We'll head out then on our next day and visit a bit of the northwest corner of the island, and of course, olive oil is really an important um, export here and a staple in the cuisine there. So, are we going to see an olive oil production facility? Give us a sense of what this is all about on this day as we venture around the western part of the island.
Yeah, olive oil is the most important product here we produce. In the island of Crete, there are more than 35 million olive trees. So we're gonna visit an olive mill, a traditional olive mill. We'll see how our ancestors used to produce the olive oil and how we are producing the olive oil. In the end of May that you are coming, beginning of June is not the harvesting period and the extraction period, but you will be able to understand how we do this process and how we produce this the liquid gold, how we call it here.
Indeed, and I think it is fascinating to see it because although we all know that all the olive oil is pressed from the olives, but how it's done in different parts of the world, I find has an impact on the flavor and gives it that sort of that unique flavor. I don't know that there were so many olive trees. I knew it was an important export, but 35 million, it's like one for every person in Canada. And I saw on the first picture as well of Crete is you have quite a chain of mountains that runs through the middle of the island. I mean, we certainly think about the picture of the smaller Greek islands with the steep cliffs and so on and so forth. But I mean, that looks like some really serious mountains that you've got through there.
Yes. Yes, Crete is it looks like the mainland. I mean, there is a huge mountain range starting from the west of the island, ending in the east, and there are over 50 peaks higher than 2,000 meters. So the highest peak of Crete is 2,453 meters. It's Psiloritis in Rethymnon. So we do have some serious mountains here, and it's fascinating that you can be very, very close to the foothills of these mountains, and in less than 20 minutes, maybe 30, let's say, you can be in the coastline. So it's amazing.
Yeah, amazing. And that's the beauty of being on an island, right? And you've got it all there. So after a few days visiting your part of the island on the west, we're going to drive all the way over to the east side on our way to Heraklion. And on the way, there's Knossos, which of course is, it's Europe's oldest city, but it's a very, very significant site. I have not made it there before, but what makes Knossos such an important historical site to visit?
Knossos is important, to the human civilization. It is one of the first cities, the oldest city in Europe, where people started to act like we do now in communities, building these palaces and work around the palace with the king, etc., etc. So it's one of the first signs of the human civilization. The ruins of Knossos, which was the greatest Minoan city, are in a quite good condition. So we can see colors, we can see all the exhibits, all the findings of the palace in the Archaeological Museum of Heraklion. Some of the most important is the disc of Festus, some small sculptures that reveals the religious background of the Minoans. So a lot of important and surprising information will be available for you there, because the treasure is huge in Knossos, and it's really must be in someone's bucket list to visit Knossos.
For sure. Well, it's interesting because one of our members, Janine, was saying she was there 2 years ago. She just commented and said it was, really wonderful. I wonder, all those colors that you see there, is that the original colors? Or
yeah.
That's incredible. So, I mean, you think about thousands of years old civilization.
Yes.
and how well preserved it is. So we'll undoubtedly enjoy spending part of the day there as we make our way to Heraklion. Heraklion has its own fortress at the port, and I guess we'll spend a night there before we hop on a ferry over to Santorini. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, and you'll have the time to stroll around the city, and it's quite beautiful. That you will see the castle, as you said, the cisterns, some very nice fountains, and inside the city some very nice shops. Yeah, it's beautiful to walk in Heraklion.
It's a beautiful walk in Heraklion, but we wanted to stay in Chania because I think Heraklion is like the city. It's where all the cruise
Yeah,
ships stop. It's a busier place, and so the whole idea is we get to see a little bit of the real side of Crete. That is not, there's I know you have tourism there, but it's not like it's not a mass tourism destination.
yeah.
But that being said, of course, the next day we're going to hop on a ferry and make our way up into the Cyclades Islands. And our first stop will be Santorini, which is, of course, on everybody's bucket list when they go to Greece. Um, I mean, other than the beautiful pictures that we're all so familiar with, what is it about Santorini that makes it so famous?
Santorini's landscape is one of the most unique landscapes you'll ever experience, and even for me, that I'm Greek and I grew up and raised here. And when I first visited Santorini, I was absolutely fascinated. These volcanic soils that Santorini is built on is it's like you are in a time machine. You go back in the past and you are exploring the way that this natural miracle built. So it's after the volcanic eruption, Santorini was created like this. So the caldera is where you're getting the most breathtaking views, and Ia, of course, which is the most picturesque city. Santorini is very famous for its wines. This volcanic soil is giving a very nice viniculture. I mean, the grapes that are growing in Santorini are giving us a very nice varieties of wine. And basically, the villages behind the famous calderas, like Pyrgos, for example, are giving you this essence of these Cycladic islands with the white houses and blue rooftops, these beautiful villages that we will visit during our visit in Santorini.
Exactly. We decided to stay there for 3 nights because, again, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but most people will sort of get off one of the cruise boats that goes around, and they'll be able to see sort of the immediate, the area around the main town, but they'll miss some of the calderas and so on, like you said, these parts in the back of the island, and so I think that's
Yeah.
part of what is really going to be the highlight. I have personally only ever been on one of those boats and visited a very small part of Santorini. You just want to see so much more. So we'll have the opportunity to do that. And you mentioned wine. So, so on our next full day, touring around the island a little bit, we're going to see a few of these hidden gems and some of this magnificent coastline that most people don't ordinarily get to see.
Mhm.
But I'm curious about the wine because it's the varietals there, the wines are not the same as many of the ones that we're familiar with. It's not like Sauvignon Blanc or.
Yeah, it's different, and it's different because every wine lover and more every wine expert knows that the the whole process is starting from the field, from the vineyard. So the soil and the chemical statics of the soil will give all these characteristics to the wine that you'll drink
Mm,
later after the process. Uh, that's why I was speaking about this soil, about the volcanic soil of Santorini, which is offering a very, very different taste and some different varieties, like Assyrtiko, for example, or Vinsando. It's some of the local varieties that Santorini produces. Um, the wines of Santorini are very special, and it's very important to the Greek wines. I mean, you must always include Santorini when you're talking about the Greek wine.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And yet we're so unfamiliar with Greek wine in Canada because we don't get many of them. We're all sort of we tend to get the usual ones from France and Italy. And I know I've had some wonderful wines. And in fact, again, one of our members has just said she had fantastic wine when she visited Santorini.
So that's your chance to taste the local wines, hearing something different, to surprise your palate.
Exactly. So, Eileen, thank you for the recommendation, for the endorsement of the wine in Santorini. As you say, we'll also visit this place called Ia, which is famous for the sunsets that you get, and this is really what it's all about. What we try and do on every Wheel and Anchor trip is include an incredible sunset spot at some point along the journey, and in this case, it'll be Ia in Santorini. And certainly something for the Instagram, right?
Yeah, sure, of course.
We've got one more, a whole full day at leisure, because I think it's, again, the place where we want to give people the time to explore a little bit on their own. I understand that there's numerous options that our members could enjoy. You can cruise around the caldera for snorkeling and swimming. At this time of the year in June, the water is warm enough already. How is it looking?
Yeah. The water, it will be maybe cooler than August, for example, but it will be very enjoyable to swim.
Exactly. What other highlights might somebody do who's interested in sort of seeing the out of the way place of Santorini, or something that every tourist wouldn't go into?
It's important to visit Akrotiri in Santorini. It's a historical site. Some excavations they made there, and reveals the ancient civilization of Santorini. The red beach and the black beach are beautiful to visit and swim there. And you will get a totally different view if you visit this beach from the sea and from the land. So if you visit, for example, the red beach from the sea, you will see the red cliffs and the color of the soil there. And if you visit from the land, you will see it from a different angle. So it's they're both very interesting. The village of Pyrgos, I think I mentioned before, is nice to stroll around the narrow alleys of the village there, and see the small churches and all these white and blue houses. And I'm not telling you everything. You will experience it yourself.
Too many places. And it's pretty easy to get around in Santorini. Yeah. I mean, yeah. So
you can walk, from example, from Fira to Imerovigli. These places are very close to walk by foot. But if you want to go to Ia, for example, yourself, you need a transportation. So it's approximately 20 minutes away from Fira, which is considered as the capital.
Right.
But yeah, you can easily walk in the island.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought. It's small enough that a lot of these things you can enjoy on foot. And I know that some of our members really like to just, knock off a lot of steps. So yeah, good. Okay, just doing a technical check. I see Joel said my mic was on mute, but I guess it's fixed now. So you can seem to hear me anyway. The next day, so we'll leave Santorini, and now we're going to go to one of the lesser known islands, and in this case, Naxos. And I remember when you and I were discussing, like, where else should we go? Because Giannis, your video just went off, but that's okay.
Oh,
we can still hear you. And we were talking about where else we could go in the Cyclades. And coincidentally, I was reading some travel magazines, as I often do, and it was called one of the most underrated islands in Greece. And because, we could have gone to Mykonos, which of course is one of the super famous islands. But I think that the experience of going to a place like Naxos is quite different. And I'd love you to tell our members why that is, and why it is we decided on going to the largest of the Cyclades of this island.
Yeah, I'm happy you mentioned our conversation about it when we were building the package. And I suggested Naxos indeed because I understood that you are not tourists, you are travelers. So yeah,
Exactly.
travelers will see something different. Must see something different in the places they're visiting. Mykonos is a very beautiful island, and I could suggest you to visit Mykonos as well. But Naxos is one of the hidden treasures of the Cycladic Islands and the Aegean Sea.
Mhm. Exactly.
It is an underrated island because of all these beautiful islands like Santorini and Mykonos. Naxos is a large and beautiful place that you can visit and do a lot of things. You can see and get the essence of the Cycladic island, but also the mainland of Naxos will offer you a lot of chances to see something different and experience, for example, something related to the gastronomy, the products like the graviera of Naxos, which is a very special product, the cheese.
Mm.
Uh, so a lot of nice villages, a lot of nice places to visit and things to do in Naxos. Than Mykonos, for example, that clubbing and partying is the most regular things to do.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Well, yeah, and I think it boils down to this: is that there's a certain authenticity because people are living there as they're living, and not necessarily deriving everything from tourism. Whereas Mykonos is really it's all about the tourism, and so it's not, you don't get that same flair for the Greek islands as you do in a place like Naxos, and
yes,
so we're going to spend a few days there. And of course, one of the days we're going to head off island, but we're going to do another wonderful sunset spot because I tell you, when you've done one, you have to do another at Portara. But tell us about one of the highlights, one of the things that we have included in the program. I mean, beside our free time there, but what will we see in Naxos specifically that um, we might not see in Mykonos because it's such a touristy island?
yeah. Portara, as you said, is one of the most famous attractions of Naxos. Naxos were famous in the past for the marbles they were
Mm,
having there. So this marble huge door, porta is the door in Greek. So Portara is the huge door. So that's the huge door of Naxos, where you will get a very nice view and sunset. And as I said before, the visits that we will make at the mainland of Naxos is the highlight of this trip. And it reminds me a lot of Crete because, yes, the most famous place is the old town of the Venetian harbor in Chania, but there's such a hidden and nice beauty in the mainland that you can only discover if you tour with a local.
yeah,
So this is what we'll do uh, in this tour generally, but specifically in Naxos as well. So we will explore the mainland with a local, which is the most important thing a traveler can do in such destinations.
absolutely, absolutely. Uh, and you refer to Naxos as like the mainland. It's because there's a small archipelago right around Naxos.
Mhm.
And so it gives us a chance to do a day trip over to one of the other islands, specifically Paros.
Yes.
And this is where, and it's funny. You look at these pictures of these Greek islands, and everything is white with blue roofs. It seems like everywhere. But Paros again is like one further step removed from where a lot of tourists will go. And of course, it has all of its beautiful white marble. But what is its sort of claim to fame, or why? And the turquoise blue water that you see. But we're going to spend a good chunk of a day in Paros. What's the attraction there?
It's Paros is another big island in the Greek archipelago, and the ferry schedule is very suitable for a visitor to tour around the islands and maybe organize day trips there. Each island has a different hora, what we say here. Hora means the center, the center of the island. So the hora of Paros and the hora of Naxos are two different places to visit. They're similar, but each one of them has a unique beauty. The island of Paros that we will visit in the morning, we will arrive there early in the morning, and we will have a tour in the Hora of Paros. But we will visit some suburbs of the Hora and some places of the mainland of Paros that they are, again, very, very unique and non-touristic places. And before we get back to Naxos, we will enjoy a very nice dinner there in Paros. So you will include another destination to your your travel in Greece, to your journey in Greece, and experience another place that you will meet maybe different people, because I can see the difference here, and you will realize the difference when we visit other destinations between the people, the culture, the behavior of these people. You will see a lot of things that they will surprise you there.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I've always been surprised by, as you say, these places are in such close proximity, and yet the people are a little bit different. The food is even sometimes a bit different. It's as if you're traveling to a whole different country, even though it's an island that it's a relatively short ferry ride away. On our last full day in the islands of Naxos, we leave it at leisure because we want to just enjoy the spectacular scenery and the coastline, like we can say here, like we can see in this photo here. But personally, I know one of the things we can do is take a catamaran cruise around Naxos Island. Yeah, I mean, what else can we say if you were going to spend one last day in Greece and you were in Naxos? How would you spend the day, Giannis?
It's a difficult question.
Because there's so many things to do, I think.
Yes, so many things to do, and in a group of people, even if there are 5 or 10 or 20, there are different characters, and each one of them will spend the day differently. So if you ask me, I would be sure that I have a full morning in this beach over there, just seeing this spectacular water, and enjoy a very good glass of wine. Yeah, take some
Exactly.
time for myself.
I have a feeling your agenda will be copied by a lot of people on a group, on our group. And Naxos as well, because I know this is a common question, right? We have this time at leisure because we want people to explore on their own. It's also fairly easy to get around. Yes.
Yes. And everything you may need, we will be there to discuss and arrange every transportation you may need, everything.
Exactly. That's why we work together. That's why, we have
Yes.
a host there, and that's why we work with you guys is that, we want to enable for people to, some people, as you say, may want to just go to the beach and have a glass of wine. Others will want to take in some more of these ancient civilizations that we find all throughout the islands. And some may just want to sit back and have a glass of wine at the Hora because, that's what we do. So, so fantastic. So from there, we'll head back to Athens for a final night. And Athens, of course, if you haven't been there before, is really a magnificent city. It sprawls out as far as the eye can see. Of course, with its centerpiece, the Acropolis in the middle of town, yeah, what would you recommend doing? I mean, we will have a lovely farewell dinner, hopefully with a view of the Acropolis at one of the the finer restaurants in town. But any particular things, Giannis, that you would suggest that people go and see while they're visiting Athens? And I know that some of our members have already said they're going to stay a couple extra days to explore the city because it's huge. But around where we're staying, what's your advice?
When I go to Athens, I always make sure that I will do that. What I will tell you, I start from Syntagma Square, the Parliament of Greece, and I admire there the Presidential Guard, the guards of the Parliament. When they change, it's quite nice and makes me, very proud of being Greek. After I see this change of the presidential guards, I walk down the Syntagma Square and I down the Ermou Street. I find myself in the old church of Kapnikarea, which is right before Monasteraki. Monasteraki is a place with thousands of shops and a very nice square over there. So it's nice to stroll around the streets and the narrow alleys, and then visit as well the nearby Plaka and Thysio. So these neighborhoods of the city center are quite beautiful and charming to me, and I always get a very good bite of Athens when I do that. So that's it. That was my suggestion.
Yeah, it sounds perfect, and that's my experience as well. Is that the old center of Athens is just such a great feel for it, and nice to just walk around and soak in the this amazing culture in this otherwise huge capital city, and there's so much to there. Janine is saying that she had delicious food and got some lovely jewelry, so also undoubtedly a good place for that last minute shopping before we say goodbye to Greece. So I think it'll all in all, it's really a wonderful representative of trip of some of the famous places and some of the off the beaten track places in Greece. And I'm really excited about it. I wish we were going this year, but it won't be too much longer. So let me then obviously from Athens, we're going to head back. And I know that some have asked already. You could definitely stay on longer. If somebody is dying to go to Mykonos and do some partying and clubbing, you can easily arrange a flight back there, or many of the other Greek islands, or Athens is a great gateway to that whole part of southeastern Europe. So, but talking about the program itself, and of course all of our details available in the brochure, which if you didn't get a copy, there'll be a link to it with the webinar replay that you'll get. So this trip again happening starting in the end of May of next year, and just we'll zip to the pricing page there. You can see the twin occupancy in Canadian dollars around $6,500, and a good note there. Yanis has done a great job for anybody of our solo travelers. We have a pretty good deal on single occupancy, a very modest upgrade there, because Greek hotels are welcoming and facilitate that singles don't have to pay such a premium to stay alone in a room. So that's a big bonus for any of our solo travelers. So we know we have a lot of you out there. Going through all the inclusions, I won't rhyme them all off now, but of course we have some wonderful hand-picked hotels that Giannis and I have picked out for this trip, and so we're staying again at really local style hotels that are cozy and comfy and family run in most of the cases, and so the hospitality, which is so important, such an important aspect of any trip in Greece, and of course all the other details are in there, and we have, as with most of our programs, either a lunch or a dinner pretty much every day of the trip, sometimes both, but we don't like that. We never want to overfeed our members. In terms of what else is in addition to the trip, of course, the airfare, which we will be happy to sort out for you. And if you're going to stay a little bit longer, I know that also some folks like to come in a little bit like a day early just to get a chance to get over the jet lag. But all those things, again, we can arrange for you. Talking about airfare, as I've been saying in recent webinars, it's still a little bit of a mystery. The sample airfare prices are shown here. Actually, they should be a bit lower than that, but I'm not willing to be committal at this point because we're not sure what routings will be in place by next year. I'm optimistic we'll have most of the routes that we're familiar with back, and we'll be able to get there well within sort of the budgets that's shown. For any information that or questions that you might have that we don't address now, and I see a few of them in the question box, please do drop us an email. You have our information there. I think most of you know how to get a hold of us. In the meantime, let me address some of the questions, because Fran asked about, how rough are the seas? And I kind of expected this question. What are the odds of getting seasick on any of these crossings? And Yanis, what's your thought on that? My experience has been is that, you know, generally at this time of the year, the sea is fairly calm, so you don't generally get a lot of motion.
Yes, the seas are calm in this period. It's considered as summer, but we can never predict if if it will be a little bit more windy on that day, or anyway, the travel will be most probably enjoyable for everyone,
Yeah.
unless if it will be very very windy.
Yeah, exactly. And so if anybody is susceptible to seasickness, which you know, it's common, let's face it, but you know, see your doctor, get one of the bands or the patches, or you know, some Gravol or something like that. And in absolute most cases, it's gonna suit you fine. We're not crossing to Antarctica here. It's just it's you know, it's a few hours on the ferry, so not big distances. Nancy asked about how much, good question, how much uphill walking or how many stairs do we have on this trip? I know Santorini is a pretty steep town, but what would you say for those who are you know, a little bit more challenged with a lot of stairs?
Stairs, yeah, in Santorini there is some up and down, especially when you visit Imerovigli, for example. But generally, the throughout the trip, the trip doesn't require a lot of walking. We do visit a lot of places with by bus, and most of the walking will be comfortable and not challenging.
Yeah, exactly. And so we try to design the trips, Nancy, so that we try to get you to all the places without sort of saying, "Oh, there's 150 steps to climb up." And there will be those cases where it is, but I mean, of course, you have the option to not you know, walk up the you know, to the cathedral or walk up to the Acropolis or what have you. You know, we'll do our best to make sure that you get to see as much as you can without having to run the marathon upstairs.
Yeah.
But in some places like Santorini, it's you know, when you're out on your own a little bit, it's a town that's built on a hill, so it's a bit steep, so it's a little bit unavoidable. But I'm sure we'll be able to accommodate you.
But yet, when you walk in the city, you don't
Yeah,
need to go down the cliff. It's a more comfortable walk around the alleys of Santorini. Even that, I mean, will be comfortable.
exactly. And you know, Janine, who was obviously recently there, pointed out, one of our members, that she took a bus up to the top of the island and was able to walk around and then sort of go down from there. So that's the other way to handle it, is to sort of start at the top and make your way walking down. Um, Another question we had from one of our members, Tracy, she's vegan and would like to know how we can accommodate her. So I think for dietary restrictions, we're usually pretty good for anybody that has a particular allergy or a preference.
Every restaurant we visit, we can make a special plate for vegetarian or vegan. It's absolutely no problem.
No problem. And they have wonderful vegetables in Greece, so I can tell you it won't be a problem at all. They are super delicious. So we'll make sure that you get looked after, Tracy. I see one more question. If there are any more, please type them into the box. John asked us what we thought about, is it really worth it to extend in Athens? My opinion on that, I'm sure Yanis will say, absolutely, you should stay in Athens. There is really a lot to see in Athens. I mean, you know, if you look at the whole Olympic site, when they had the Olympics there some years back, there's some aspects of that are fantastic. And there's just neighborhoods all over the place. So I think it's definitely worth a few nights in Athens if you're interested to explore the city. And it's pretty easy to do. So I would definitely consider it. Or stay on, and you know, you could either also join a short cruise for a few days to see some of the other islands. As you know, as I mentioned, there's 6,000 islands in Greece, so you know, you could go and visit some other groups and see what that experience is like. There's a lot of things to do and a lot of good reasons to stick around for a little bit longer. Good. So I think that answers all the questions. Yanis, thank you so much once again for joining us for our webinar today. I know our members really appreciate it when we have somebody from in country to tell us all about what we can expect to see. I'm excited for us to finally come there next year. I'm certain we're going to make it. So thank you all for joining us. Yanis, thank you for your wonderful
You're
information
welcome.
and
You're
your
very
passion.
welcome.
And we'll see you next year. And we'll see you at our next webinar. Hopefully that's next week. We'll be talking about Ireland, the Emerald Isle. That's May 6th, Thursday, our usual time, 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And otherwise, you'll be hearing from me on Saturday as usual in our weekly newsletter. And I have lots to tell you about some more exciting things that are upcoming. So have yourselves a wonderful day. And thank you again for joining us. And we'll see you again very, very soon.